Okay, all right. Still looking at pathophysiology. Pathophysiology, understanding pathophysiology of this of flu, we have to go back to these. You have to understand, first of all, you have to understand the virus structure. Majorly, we're looking at the outside, looking at the virus. In the virus structure, we have two main glycoproteins. We have two main glycoproteins, or antigens. If you like, these are called antigens. They are glycoproteins. Okay, so we have hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. HA. So I'll be interchanging HA and NA. Anytime I'm talking about HA, you are looking at hemagglutinin. When I'm talking about NA, we are looking at neuraminidase. These glycoproteins, which I said before, are antigens. Antigens are sometimes the glycoproteins that interact with bodily antigens. Okay, with bodily antibodies. Sorry. So the hemagglutinin, they work. They are lectin. They are lectin in nature, and they work by binding to the virus of the target cell. Before, for example, if maybe I would have discussed transmission before pathophysiology. In the transmission of flu, maybe it's either you are exposed to by A, you are exposed to maybe by touch, or you are exposed directly by sneezing. Maybe the person sneezes directly into your respiratory tract, or you just take it by A, like the person has sneezed and you take it by A. And also maybe a person sneezes, the viral droplet maybe drops on ear knobs, drops on some surfaces, and you have contact on your body surface and you take it to your nose or something. So when you first inhale the virus, maybe you have any contaminated air, you inhale the virus. What happens here is the hemagglutinin is responsible for binding the virus to the target cell. That's we're looking at the epithelial cells lining the respiratory tract or lining the nasal cavity. So this is hemagglutinin is responsible for that. Hemagglutinin. Then when there has been an attachment or binding of hemagglutinin to the target cells, as epithelial cells, the NA, another antigen, the NA, neuraminidase, is responsible for the release of the progeny virus. The progeny virus is responsible. This NA is responsible for the release of the progeny virus into the infected cells. And majorly, I skipped. I would have, as well, with introduction, I'll also be talking about. Okay, I would have mentioned the difference between RNA infection and DNA infection. In RNA infection, for example, what happens is when there's infection, before there's pathogenesis or there is onset of symptoms as a result of pathogenesis, what you are going to have here is there will be, first of all, the virus has before there's pathogenesis, the cytoplasm of the human cell, for example, the cytoplasm of the human cell has to be infected first. That's RNA viruses have to incorporate themselves into the cytoplasm of the human cells before replication. But in DNA viruses or DNA infections, that doesn't happen. What happens here is the virus has the ability, as in through its ability to disrupt polymerase chain reactions in the body, as in that it has the ability. So it does not need to affect the cytoplasm before pathogenesis. So the disruption of polymerase reaction is caused by DNA viruses before infection. I brought that in to explain this. So when any release of the progeny virus into the infected cells, and majorly the flu infection is caused, or you start having symptoms when this has happened. When this has happened, the first step of binding has happened, and there is, and this progeny virus has had the tendency to enter the cells through endocytosis. Endocytosis, yes. So at that point, it is after this that maybe you have the normal viral chain. I have replication, transcription, and the rest. And very important, this virus, when there is when it binds, release of progeny has happened, and endocytosis has taken place too. There is transcription, there is genetic information has been transferred to the host cells. The genetic information of the RNA virus has been transferred to the host cells. So the genome has been transferred to the host cells. It leaves the host cell. It leaves it like the infected cells, like the virus after transcription and everything has happened. It leaves the host cell and leaving the host cell infected. Okay, so at that point, I just wanted to brush that pathogenesis and pathophysiology of flu. So I've discussed transmission. I've discussed transmission, that is through touch, direct contact, and sneezing, and you take it through air. Maybe sneezing and it will rest on maybe doorknobs or any object, and you touch it and take it to your respiratory tract. Then look at diagnosis. Diagnosis, majorly in diagnosis, we are looking at maybe nasopharyngeal swab. Like we have to use a swab to take the mucus for tests. And also we have another form of, like, we're looking at rapid molecular assay. Rapid molecular assay is too can be used as way of diagnosis. Then looking at treatment and management. Naturally, as we all know, some viral infections, maybe like looking at maybe viral rhinitis, like hay fever, and some common or causes of common cold like that complete their course. When they complete their course, they just leave the body. Like normally the body is supposed to fight it, but when the body is not, it doesn't have the ability. Normally when maybe you are looking at immunosuppressed patient or patient that having chronic infection, chronic diseases like HIV, maybe like HIV and other chronic conditions. So when the body cannot, maybe after maybe 3 days, you started seeing symptoms and all, and your body cannot fight it. Majorly, normally we're looking at maybe non-pharmacological therapy, whereby you tell maybe the patient or the individual is supposed to take increase fluid intake as a result of increased fluid intake. And also pain meds are also advised, pain meds, because the symptoms, sorry I did not mention the symptoms earlier on, I skipped my mind. Earlier on I would have mentioned the symptoms of influenza. We are looking at sore throat, we are looking at runny nose, we are looking at joints and muscle pain, we are looking at some allergic reactions as a result of this. We are also looking at fever. Fever is a leading symptom of this condition. And also we have complications as a result of we have complications. The leading complication of flu is majorly pneumonia, and also in maybe we can also have maybe septicemia as a result, like this is, it's rare, septicemia is very rare, but pneumonia is common. And when these and also when this condition, when maybe you are not okay, I've mentioned pneumonia, and also people that are having maybe obstructive respiratory disorders, looking at COPD, and maybe anybody that is having maybe bronchitis, emphysema, and asthma can have serious complications as a result of flu, because majorly it affects, not only affect the upper respiratory tract, it affects the upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract, including the trachea and the nose. So I've mentioned mates and pain mates. Majorly, most of the symptoms, apart from vaccination is the most effective way of preventing flu. But when one is down with influenza, majorly we're looking at relief of symptoms, looking at pain meds and maybe acetaminophen, that's paracetamol, and also can also give aspirin, but aspirin should not be given in children below 5 years to avoid Rayleigh syndrome, and also people should avoid alcohol. This when taking pain meds and other medications. But like I said before, vaccination is the most effective form of preventing influenza. And vaccines, flu vaccines are trivalent. Are trivalent in the sense that they have the ability to target at least three subtypes of flu viruses, like for example the AH1, AH5, AH3, and B. We also have some flu vaccines that are that are like in terms of like they're traveling, that they have like wide therapeutic action on different subtypes of these viruses. And majorly, most people always misuse antibiotics while treating flu. This should not happen, because majorly when you are treating viral conditions, antibiotics is useless, because antibiotics majorly are for bacterial infections. So antibiotics should not be used while as a treatment plan for flu, except you have secondary conditions like pneumonia, and there's also maybe strep or staphylococcus origin, or any other secondary condition that has bacterial origin. That is only when you can administer antibiotics. Antivirals are the mainstay. Antivirals are the mainstay in the treatment. Looking at vaccination, looking at vaccination, we're looking at prevention. But in the treatment of this, we're looking at antivirals. Antivirals are looking at if you go back to the two the pathophysiology, we're looking at the NA inhibitors. To reverse this activity or event is a an insight in development of antiviral against flu, because if you can reverse this, you can actually reverse transcription process and the rest. So antivirals, they're looking at the NA inhibitors and matrix 2 protein pump inhibitors. Like this process is during the transcription process. This process of proton channel, whereby it's inside the cell process that leads to transcription of this virus in the host cell. So if these two processes, like I discussed, if this process is disrupted and this process is disrupted, that can be handled. And usually like you're looking at Zanamivir and Peramivir, but these are like examples of antivirals used in treatment of flu. I'll take some questions, and most of the regularly asked questions we're looking at regularly asked questions like, is flu same as cold? Yeah, people will ask that. Is flu same as cold? Is question that I asked, is flu the same as cold? Flu and cold are different things. Cold is different from flu. Cold majorly are caused by rhinoviruses, and cold affects only the upper respiratory tract. Cold that doesn't go down to the lower respiratory tract, but flu affects both upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. And like I said too, there's no vaccine for cold. And like, cold is only preventable by relieving symptoms with symptoms, maybe runny nose and the rest, and cold and pyrexia and the rest of the symptoms that comes with cold. So the major thing you should understand is flu is caused by different virus, like we are looking at the otomyroviruses viruses, whereby cold is caused by rhinoviruses. And another question, a frequently asked question is antibiotics necessary? Like I discussed here, antibiotics is not necessary except it has been proven. Except maybe there's a test, maybe the patient has maybe through diagnostic procedure, and there is secondary condition, like that's secondary condition or secondary underlying condition that is bacterial origin. That's when antibiotics is needed. But normally antibiotics should not be used in the management of influenza. Then also people ask, who is at risk? Who is at risk of flu? Normally, like I said before, the body immune system is normally in a good an individual with a good with a strong immune system is supposed to fight these viruses. The rest will fight influenza. But when the body system is compromised, for example, maybe you're looking at patients, maybe pregnant women, we are looking at children, maybe school children, less than 5 years, and maybe you're also looking at people with chronic conditions. Like I mentioned before, people with chronic conditions like maybe diabetes mellitus, people with chronic conditions, maybe like HIV, and also elderly patients too. There's people that have decreased or immunocompromised immune system. These are people that are at risk for this condition, which they should be very, very serious about it. I believe I've been able to touch majorly all the areas that I needed to touch. I don't know. So if you have any question you need to ask, maybe the general introduction part of solid transmission and the rest, diagnosis, treatment, and other things that I mentioned before. If you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful with you. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next week for another interesting edition of Let's Learn Together. Thank you.